Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News live from Warsaw. And we begin with breaking news straight from Ukraine as President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has now said Kyiv is ready to sign minerals and security agreement at any time, in any convenient moment. And so we go now live to Ukraine correspondent Ursula, who's in Kyiv and has more. Good afternoon, Us. So what's the latest from Kyiv?
Well, this is basically breaking news statement from President Zelenskyy, who is really trying to contend with the messaging coming from Washington. For example, Donald Trump has said that Zelenskyy is not interested in peace. So the first line of Zelenskyy's statement is, "I would like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace." There had also been reporting that President Trump wasn't willing to sign any deal with Zelenskyy unless he apologized for what happened at the White House when Donald Trump and J.D. Vance berated Zelenskyy in front of the cameras. And President Zelenskyy says, our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. And he goes on to say that he wants to sign the mineral deal in any convenient format. So really, Zelenskyy is trying his best to make right with President Trump in the way that Donald Trump sees things. Quite different from the approach that he maybe tried at the White House. But this statement clearly has been quite targeted to the language that Donald Trump has been using in recent days. Also, on the subject of aid, the suspension of aid, we also have Prime Minister Shmyhal talking about the fact that Ukraine could withstand this aid, saying our military and the government have the capabilities, the tools to maintain the situation on the front lines. Now, again, Prime Minister Shmyhal spoke about trying to work further with the US. The message really coming out of Kyiv at the moment is, we want to continue working with the US, but if we can't, we will have to go it alone. This is what Prime Minister Shmyhal had to say earlier on today.
Today, Ukraine is fully determined to continue cooperation with the administration of Donald Trump, the US Congress, and Donald Trump himself, so that Ukraine and the United States can continue our fight for a just, lasting, and stable peace on the European continent. I am confident that support from the United States as a global leader and one of the most significant partners who have stood by us for the past 3 years will continue. We are pragmatically seeking opportunities for cooperation, particularly in the economic sphere, including within the framework of an agreement on the joint creation of an investment fund in Ukraine. We are ready to sign it, and we will move forward in this direction.
So very careful and calm messaging there from Kyiv, moderate language aimed at the US president. The Ukrainians are clearly trying their hand at diplomacy. Now we go over to Washington to see what their response is going to be going forward from the developments here in Kyiv. Back to you in the studio.
So the situation is indeed very, very dynamic. That was Ursula reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Us. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says a plan to mobilize some €800 billion for Europe's defense will help provide immediate support for Ukraine. The move comes hours after US President Donald Trump announced a freeze of aid to Ukraine as Washington continues to push for a peace deal with Russia.
Tomorrow, I will inform the member states through a letter about the Rearm Europe plan. We need a massive surge in defense without any question. We want lasting peace, but lasting peace can only be built on strength. And strength begins with strengthening ourselves. And that is the purpose of the plan that I will present to the member states tomorrow, the Rearm Europe.
It's time we rearm, re-equip and stand ready for Europe's defence, said the European Commission Vice President Kaja Kallas on social media, emphasising the importance of increasing defence spending in Europe and future support to Ukraine.
It's time we rearm, re-equip and stand ready for Europe's defense. We will use every lever we have, from adapting fiscal rules for defense spending to mobilizing our EU budget to new loans for joint procurement of equipment. We must also step up our support to Ukraine.
Last year's delays of weapons shipments from the US exposed our civilian infrastructure to the Russians and increased civilian casualties, said Ukrainian member of parliament Halina Yanchenko. She also suggested that this current pause in assistance would have even more grave consequences.
We have been through this situation to some extent. Actually, exactly a year ago, when the package of military assistance from US was delayed and Ukraine was out of ammunition, and Russian intelligence knew that, they have started to massively attack Ukrainian electricity and heating stations, electricity infrastructure and heating stations. Last March, just within a month, they Russian occupants basically ruined nearly half of our electricity and heating plants. Who won from it? Ukraine, Europe, US? Obviously no one. We and also people who are taking decisions across the world should understand that without the missiles and ammunition for air defense, without it, there will be more casualties among civilians and more damages to civilian and strategic infrastructure.
Polish officials are responding to Washington's decision to halt all aid to Ukraine. Our reporter Ovidiusz Nicieja has been following the reactions of the Polish Prime Minister, Defense Minister and the Foreign Ministry. Here's his report.
The Polish government today held a cabinet meeting during which the Polish Prime Minister said that it's a serious situation and that he expects his government, his ministers, to be ready to act quickly and to be able to take decisions flexibly and in an extraordinary mode.
Fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to see some turbulence. Reports coming in from the border and our hub in Rzeszów confirm what the Americans are saying. This puts Europe, Ukraine and Poland in a much tougher spot, but we need to face this situation head-on. There is no denying it. The situation presents a major challenge, likely one of the biggest in terms of security. Our strategy remains in place, however, and continues to stand as a roadmap for the EU. We need to recommit to European efforts toward improving our defense capabilities and at the same time take care to maintain good transatlantic relations despite the challenging circumstances.
Polish authorities have expressed their solidarity with Ukraine, assuring that Poland's support for Ukraine will continue. Polish Deputy Prime Minister has said that America's decision to halt military aid to Kyiv was not a good one, and the spokesperson for the Polish Foreign Ministry has said that it was made without prior consultation with Poland or European or NATO allies.
This is obviously not good news, and the situation forces us to redouble our efforts. Our strategy is to keep Russia as far away from our borders as possible, and the best way to do that is to support Ukraine. This is why Poland remains committed to the mission of assisting Kyiv. We train soldiers, donate military equipment, help with logistics, and will continue to do so, because this is squarely in Poland's interest and shores up our security. Anyone who fails to understand that is mistaken and acts against Polish interests. I believe this is temporary and would like this halt to be as brief as possible. Kyiv and Washington need to return to the negotiating table.
Even though Polish authorities see Donald Trump's decision in a rather negative light, the Polish Prime Minister highlighted at the same time that it's key to maintain good relations with Washington, and he said that America is Poland's most important ally.
And that's Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban is travelling to Paris on Wednesday to discuss the conflict in Ukraine with French President Emmanuel Macron. This high-level meeting comes as France and the UK work on a joint proposal for peacekeeping efforts in the war-torn country, aimed at presenting a comprehensive plan to the US.
In the backdrop of this meeting, France has initiated a plan to form a coalition of the willing. a group of nations committed to contributing to a peacekeeping force in Ukraine. While details remain unclear, the coalition is expected to play a key role in stabilizing the region. Orban's talks with Macron could further shape the dynamics of this emerging coalition as European leaders push for more decisive action in securing peace for Ukraine.
And so we've reached the end of this news bulletin, but don't go away, as Bottom Line with Marie Cato is coming up next.